spoiler season continues in full swing for Unleashed, and Draven did not win the Shenzhen National Open. All that and more on this week's episode of The Winning Point.
I think people, like, if we just, I mean, we did do this before. If we just stopped doing the cold open and then never mention it again, like, how long do you think it would take people to point it out and ask for it back?
The first couple,
3 or 4,000 years.
I'm going to say 15 seconds tops because I'm going to mention it because I'm going to give you your flowers, sir. As somebody who was trying to do a cold open when we were covering the Shenzhen, doing the co-stream thing, it's actually hard to just be purposefully nonchalant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sometimes you just start it.
You can't have any chalant, but sometimes you just start. The Winning Point, episode number 39. Which is crazy. It's so many episodes that I forgot what my fake numbering system is for the episode. So we're back on canonically accurate, the real numbers. Once we get to season 3, I'll be back off track. But me being Blevins, that's me. That right there is a Casanova, and all the way over is Charmer. Welcome, friends. We are here for yet another episode of spoiler season. We've got all sorts of reveals that have gone on, and we're going to be talking about quite a few of them. We've got a lot to talk about. Before we get into that, why don't we talk? How are y'all doing, Cass? You had a gig.
Yeah, no, I was casting a Flesh and Blood Calling in Memphis alongside friend of the channel, longtime Legends of Runeterra friend of ours, Majin Bay, it was a really good time. It was nice to get to hang out with him again and yap about some card games. I just booked back in December, so I wasn't aware that it'd be conflicting with the Chinese National Open, but it was really, really nice to go do that gig. It was a lot of fun, and I missed everyone in chat, all the people about for covering China, and I know y'all had a good time taking over for me.
Yeah, and Charmer, we got to hang out a little bit.
I was gonna say I had a good time. Both nights I started things, eventually did the handoff to Blevins. A couple of minutes were shared between us. I didn't want to spend too much time on the same broadcast as him because I wanted people to come back, and there's only so much of the two of us that people can take. It was a good time for sure.
Yeah, it was a good one, and we'll definitely be talking about Shenzhen here in just a bit, but we've got some other awesome stuff to talk about, including but not limited to these awesome playmats that you can get over at shop.turnemsideways.gg. They are popping up on the screen right now. We've got Draven, we've got Irelia, who were the most represented decks in the top 8. Did we know the script going into this? You're going to have to decide, just like you can decide to pick up one of these amazing playmats here. Got both the zoned playmats and the non-zone ones. I'm still torn whether I like the zones or not zones. I've grown to become a zoner, but what I've definitely got no mixed thoughts about are these amazing challenge coins, which are also available at shop.turnsideways.gg. Charmer and I came up with the amazing idea to just have a bunch of the challenge coins and then do the poker chip shuffle with all of the coins. I think that's the biggest flex that you can possibly have.
Would be pretty sweet. That's not the only thing for us to plug at the start of our day. We've got the website that I've been working on alongside Prismaticism and Randy. It's at turnemsideways.gg, and that is just going to have a tier list that has sample deck lists for every single legend, alongside some nice early tips and tricks, as well as the best of deck list from every single Western RQ. We haven't been doing China in these yet. Maybe something we look at in the future, but as of now, all the Western RQs will have the best ofs updated for the rest of time. So you should always keep your eyes there after an RQ. It'll have the best ofs.
Yeah, I was just going to say I can certify that the quality of content is good because Blevins and I do not contribute.
have not contributed yet, so therefore must be great. I will say that one of the most asked things, if you just look online anywhere, is, oh, what was the best of insert champion I want, or insert legend that I want to play? And that's a great place to have. Hey, you now know the answer to that. You can always find them at turnhemsideways.gg, which is awesome. It's a great resource to have. And also just a lot of great minds and people who are thinking a lot about the game and playing at a high level and testing and all that, just contributing awesome content there. So make sure you are checking it out if you have not already. But we mentioned Shenzhen. Cass, you weren't there to hang out with us, but we got to see some what I will say was a markedly different meta. I got to cast the PPG event in Pittsburgh the week before, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. All time is blended together. It was a week ago. I did it, and I don't remember when it was already. But that meta felt quite different to this one. There was a lack of Ezreal. There was, we didn't see on the stream a lot of Miracle or Detonate Draven, although we did get some reports that it may actually have existed more than we thought. But in terms of like, we went into the PBG event. It was won by Miracle Draven, or was won by Detonate Draven. There was a bunch of Ezreal played, Control Allen style Ezreal played, as well as Aurelia there, and we saw a bit of a different mix here in Shenzhen.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that Aurelia did end up picking up the win, though, which is it's cool to see something outside of Draven take the event. But in China, that's kind of been the case. I mean, Draven won the first two, then there's a Kaisa, an Annie, and now an Aurelia. So really, Draven has been struggling to actually pick up wins in China's circuit as a whole. We did see a tweet from Randy that was saying that Detonate or Miracle variants of Draven were kind of like littering the room, but they were often falling to the Aurelia players, or in some cases to the Clock, which has been kind of a theme for China with some of the Miracle decks. So interesting that y'all weren't seeing much of it at all. And I do wonder what the exact amount would have been, but only 18% Draven for the biggest event. Yes, there are best ofs on the line, but this is also like the biggest cash prize and biggest like prestige and biggest award event in China. So sometimes you expect to see a little bit more skewed towards the top decks.
Yeah, I have been really just trying to like run back what I saw from that particular event in my brain. And there's two things that kept standing out to me, at least from the broadcast perspective. One, we didn't see a lot of Bryn here, which I don't know if it's just because it is more popular in the West, but I feel like the Aurelia decks would have struggled a little bit more if perhaps we would have seen it more frequently. The Bryn here into Rebuke setup just doesn't seem to be as popular. What we saw instead were folks just trying to kind of win the might race with things like Ferris Forerunner and cards like that. The other thing that jumped out to me is the Aurelia decks that were performing well, and even ultimately the winner, were ones that were also just drawing a ton of cards. Now, obviously, Aurelia is doing that typically on the back of the Herder, right? Stellacorn is an outstanding card, but it really made me rethink why it's so important in Riftbound to draw cards. And I think that where I landed was the game seems to have a skeleton that's very similar to Magic the Gathering, right? The difference, though, is that in Magic the Gathering, you're playing with a 60 card deck, and even when you draw a card, you have a chance of like whiffing when you're trying to find answers, right? Because your lands are in there. With the Rune deck in this game, your answers are compressed. And so the decks that are doing well right now are the ones that just always have the right card for the right situation. And that's why we saw several times throughout the event, people were just sitting on 11 cards, like it was just an everyday thing. And I think that that's really important to note, mostly because as we go into talking about spoilers later, help might be on the way on that front. But it was very notable to me that that was what was really dictating the performance, I think, more than anything, because consistency is king in card games.
Yeah. And Cash, you made me think of something that I didn't actually think of while we were watching the event. I didn't even think about until now, but the clock being an issue, I think was a real thing that we saw. I mean, we saw a lot of not super speedy play on day 1 and 2 of the event, where we saw games go to time. Yeah, we could see here. There was a call. This is unrelated to what the point I was making, but it's still funny here. Randy tweeted out a picture that says there were 5 head judges at a table. It was the guy who tried to DQ Randy and in the top 8 in Dalian versus Freebuke man, who did actually end up top 8ing the event with a what I was calling miracle Draven, which was like it was partially miracle and partially mid range. And the reason really the only reason I call it mid range because I had 3 Darius main deck, which is not something that you typically see in the miracle list or the detonate lists. And it kind of tied the pieces together thinking about the clock, because if you are not if you're not able to play the game to the matches to completion, it doesn't matter how good the deck can be. If you go to time every single round and you end up with a draw, the deck's actually just not good. So it looked like at least that version of the deck was actually cutting some of the miracle lines for a like, oh, I can just win the game the old fashioned way with Draven with Darius and Noxus Hopefuls and like playing a mid-range game, but also called shots and purple Ezreals and that whole package to kind of fuel that. It was an interesting way to build the deck that I don't think I had seen at all really in the West.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the Darius's, but that is kind of the idea that Randy and Talion had been playing in Draven. It was like somewhere in between Miracle and mid-range. Having more access to things like Mind Splitter and a little bit of the bigger top end stuff. But that it does make sense. I mean, Darius was not in their version. Darius is definitely unique to his, and it's pretty cool to see that in between. But I still maintain that I think it's mostly skill issue with going to time with Miracle decks, but it's not entirely on you. Like if you're playing the Miracle deck and you're doing everything right, sometimes your opponent is still just gonna play super slow. We saw that a lot with Aurora as well. As like Aurora actually doesn't even take that long. But players playing into Aurora do take a long time, and it just makes it take a hell of a longer. So it's always tough. And I hope that wasn't the like main factor on some meta issues, and we'll see as a ban list is on the horizon that whenever that comes around, if there is any ban, if it could just be no changes, but if there are bans, I expect maybe addressing some of the time issues will be addressed in those.
Yeah, we briefly talked about it in like one of the many mini podcasts that are recorded in between the rounds of a Chinese tournament, because those tend to be like an hour, and we just kind of see where it goes. We talked. I brought up a point about bans, and we won't go into it because whether we get bans or not, we will certainly have a whole episode on the implications of whatever happens or doesn't happen. But my thought is, personally, without going into the details of every card, I don't want there to be any bans unless they are addressing something specifically for the health of the game, not of the meta. Like, oh, we did not expect, nor do we want the game to go to second cycle and for you to be able to stack your deck with Vi. That is not something that we necessarily anticipated to happen at this point in the game, and it's not a gameplay pattern that we really want to have in Riftbound with 2 sets out. Therefore, we are taking these measures to change, to alter that, to get Riftbound back to the state of the game that we thought it was. Not the detonate deck is too strong right now, we're banning these cards to make the deck worse. Like, that distinction is where my mind goes without like going too deep into the specific fixes for that or whatever. But that's where like I want it to be, I guess. I don't know if we have quick thoughts on that. We weren't planning on talking about this, but
no, I mean, I'm also pretty much on the no changes, but I do, I mean, I would want them to stay away from things that they didn't expect to see in Riftbound. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad segue to our main topic of the day. Is this what we want to see in Riftbound? Is this the idea? Is this the plan going forward? And I think high power level is the the plan. It does feel like it does want to be a game that you're doing very broken things.
Yeah. My thoughts are, and I talked about this when we were doing the co-stream stuff, the only card that I have any strong feelings about right now, and I don't even think or not fully convinced that it should be banned, but if I was going to lean in any direction, it actually would be Brynhir Thundersong. And my reasoning is because I feel like that one has the strongest potential to create very unfun gameplay cycles, especially when we get to set 3. If they want to like save it till then, that's fine, but we've seen so many ways to like potentially flicker it. And like, yes, there's still counterplay or whatever, but if you are somebody who ever played like early Magic where you had to play against land destruction decks or things like that, it's just not fun when you spend 3 turns where you're just doing nothing.
Yeah.
I really feel like Brynhir would have been fine if it was a card that just said spells so that you could still play quick draw stuff or, you know, units with ambush. But the fact that it's just flat, like you can't play cards and there are so many battlefields that give you the guaranteed trigger so that you can react to it with some of the new stuff that's coming in set 3, etc. I feel like that's one that could become problematic.
Yeah, I mean, here to help actually, here to help Brynhir being able to set up the things. We have a card that we're going to talk about later, Heedless Resurrection, that is also going to be creating a lot of problems for Brynhir being able to just kind of...
And Rengar signature spell as well. Like there's...
Rengar signature spell, yep. So there's quite a few ways that it's going to happen. So that, I mean, yeah, let's take this to the main topic, because the idea is not exactly Brynhir is the main topic, but the idea is, wow, there is a lot of really strong things being added to the game. What does that mean? What is the direction that we're looking at? And one of those strong effects from set 1 was Mind Splitter, was Sabotage, Hand Ripping, and recurring Hand Ripping being something that started to exist. And now we see already 5 new either look at your hand or hand rip you effects coming to Unleash, which is a lot. I mean, that is a lot of different cards that are going to be able to look at your hand and or hand rip you in some way, shape, or form. And so to kick things off, I mean, there is Bone Skewer, 2 energy, 1 power, chaos spell that can be hidden. It says choose a battlefield. An opponent reveals their hand. So there's hand info the second you cast this. You have now seen your opponent's hand, which already could be a spell worth playing, is just looking at your opponent's hand. You may choose a unit from it. They play that unit to that battlefield, ignoring any and all costs. When they do, stun it. So if it has an on play, you do have to be a little bit concerned about that. It'll get its on play. It will still have its might. Your opponent gets to play this for free. However, it is getting charmed to a battlefield and stunned. So you don't actually have to have more might than this unit. You actually just need to have the same amount of might as the unit in order to completely clear it and not worry about losing your own unit in recourse. And this is, you're seeing their hand. You get to decide, oh, you have no spells to protect this large unit. Okay, I'll take it. Oh, you have spells to protect the large unit. I'll take the small thing and just clear it, and now I know what your hand is. It's very good. And this is immediately, like, just the first of many. I mean, what do you guys think about the Bone Skewer?
I think it's very, very good. I was initially excited. Anytime I see the words hidden on a purple or a blue card, I start thinking about Teemo. But the reality is this is the kind of card where you're going to have to consider this as potentially being something you're playing against if it's any purple deck, because it's just a universally powerful play. The fact that it's hideable also means that for the low cost of turning one of your seals sideways, and like, let's be honest, most of your purple decks are now running triple seals.
You might as well.
Makes this feels very, very good. Now, yes, you obviously have to control a battlefield if you're going to hide it, and then even going a step further, you have to then make the play to that battlefield. I know it says choose a battlefield, but again, hidden rules would still apply. You would have to choose that battlefield if it was hidden there.
Right.
But even if you're not playing it with hidden, like, it's just a strong ability if you know that you can snipe something. And against certain decks that are trying to set up potentially combinations, or, you know, we've seen some stuff revealed from Pike coming up where if they're trying to bounce stuff back to their hand repeatedly and you're trying to just snipe that combo, this is really, really good.
This is a card that makes me want to play Purple Draven as my chosen champion. Like,
yeah, I mean,
this is something I've been waiting for.
This
is like the Wombo combo more so than, I mean, this is like super charm, right? Because like you just always win the
as long
combat.
as they have one in hand.
Yeah, as long as I have something in hand, it's like, oh yeah, I've got my Purple Draven here. Let's get it. And also, it doesn't even matter how big it is, because if they have a Mountain Drake, they go, okay, comes in, it's stunned, it goes back. I've won the combat. Draven just needs to win the combat. You get your point. Like, it's insane with Purple Draven, which I think is cool, but also possibly degenerate, but probably not that.
No, that's true. I mean, as for a point with Purple Draven, you're absolutely right. It literally does not matter how big it is because you win the combat because of this.
As long as it doesn't kill it with one of its like on play abilities or some other effect, like the might doesn't matter.
I will say, like, I don't see this card as being like, oh, so turbo broken. It's gonna be like 3 of in every deck. It's niche in some senses. Like, it does require specific, like, you need to be a deck that's running big enough units that pulling this in and stunning it is still gonna kill the unit. And you might not want to mainboard it because, like, spell slinging decks, maybe it's like not incredibly useful against. Maybe it is. It just depends on what the decks look like, right? But I just think that in general, the effect is quite strong, and it is a hand rip. And that can bring us to our next card, which is also a hand rip. And that is the topic of the day, is like, oh, okay, there's a lot of hand ripping being added. And this time, it's in order. 5 energy, 1 power, 4 might, Ashe focused. When you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand. Well, okay, we're playing a unit and we get to see the opponent's hand. Very valuable already. Choose a card revealed this way and banish it. When they hold, return it to their hand. So it's not a permanent hand rip, but your opponent is forced to hold to get the card back, which risking a hold into yellow can be really difficult. Risking a hold in Riftbound can be very difficult. So it's very possible. I would just say that, like, they will not have this card again is a very likely thing. It's like, it's just likely that they're not going to get this card back. I don't see this as like a broken card. I'm just like, okay, well, here is another way that my hand is not safe. People are going to be able to see what is in my hand. There is the full information coming out. And yeah, this is just yet another way that that's happening.
I really like this potentially for Vi, just because the hold incentive to maybe get that card back might get them to leave units on the board, and then that would allow you to get your triggers, whether it's from the legend, whether it's from Hextech gauntlets that you're for sure going to be running in that list, or other similar effects, right? Where you, again, want to win a combat. So Vi, if you're somebody who you want to set up like the big wombo combo, which is gauntlets on something like a Tryndamere, where you're scoring extra points, you're drawing extra cards, whatever. Well, how do you do that? You get your opponent to want to try to hold, because right now the game is just kind of defined by, I get in, I get my points, and I get out as fast as possible. But Ashe, at least in those colors, gives you a useful ability that also incentivizes your opponent to kind of walk into what you already want them to do. So I wish it was a little bit more might, but I suspect that this is balanced around maybe a future Ashe legend, and this being paired as a chosen champion with that. But it's a really strong effect.
Yeah, interestingly, you know, you look at like Mind Splitter, and this is like well underrated of Mind Splitter, and you can get your card back. However, it is banished. This is not actually even putting it in your bin. So if you are a deck that can like recur stuff from the bin, this is not going to allow you to do so.
Yeah, now this may come to bite me, but I think that this card's actually not very good. Like, I think it costing a power makes me already like very leery. I can't remember when I heard this come up or who said it, but maybe it was a stream I was watching, but it was like, how many units that cost 5 right now are really being played? And then,
well, that depends. The answer to that question, sir, is how many of those units are in yellow that can be hooked into, and they have a lower might threshold, so it's easier to get to.
That is a good point, but even then, I'll buy the hook. I'll buy the hook argument. I've got no rebuttal for that. In fact, I'm in favor of that. And this card goes up in my estimation for that reason. But I think it's a matter of like you are kind of wanting to, like, it's a tempo play, right? Like that Ashe
Yeah.
off the top is not great. So you want to be developing, putting pressure on them, play the Ashe, take a key card from them, and then you've got information to go in and attack. If you're just I've playing a control deck and then I jam this Ashe as my one unit, like that's not good. Maybe that's just where my mind went. So we're going to have to see. Maybe, yeah, Vi seems like a good option. Something like Darius or any of these other hook variants seem like a good option where you are just naturally putting pressure on, and then this can be your okay, I need to see if the coast is clear. Okay, it is. Let's go. And now you're also down a card. They're also down a card, unlike Sabotage, where it's like, yeah, I'm trading a card for their card, but you're left with a body here, which is quite nice.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe, yeah, I'm putting it as mid. It's generically, I think, kind of a weak card, but in the right deck, it can be good, which is
look, I think I agree with you. Again, the premise of this whole argument is not that this is like all broken cards or something.
Right.
This is just like,
well, the next
wow,
one
look at how much hand rip is being added into the game, right? And I think, you know, for Yellow to get this opportunity to have hand rip as well and like be able to see the hand, they didn't have this effect before. I think that, you know, it's good that they're getting to spread this love a little bit, and you know, you don't have to specifically be in purple or orange to like be able to get a glimpse of the opponent's hand. It's just like, wow, this is an effect that it seems like they're very willing to print. And yeah, I mean, Ashe, like I agree that like a tempo deck that actually gets to be very aggressive, flood the board, and then like Ashe for the full info, so you don't like play into board wipes or play into accelerate poorly or something like that. And then even remove, you know, that issue. I think it's going to be a lot better. That's why Hook makes a lot of sense. Also, is hand rip not actually that good anymore because of all the card draw that's getting added? And that's something that we can talk about at the end, right? Because a lot of card draw has been added to the game as well. And so is that why hand rip is being added, right? People are drawing so many cards and they're starting to play one-ofs for these specific answers. So now here's some hand rip that you can actually like deal with some of these one-ofs in these like 7-card hands that are happening. Or do you just not even play hand rip because people have too many cards in hand? But the next one is going to be a 3-cost chaos card once again. Bewitching Spirit with 2 might. And it says when you play me, choose a player, they discard 1. So no look at the hand. This is not a Thoughtseize effect. This is just a I play a body, you lose a card. So this is the type of one that is really good. Right now, this is broken, right? In the game as we know it, it is broken. In Origins, this would have been broken. Right now, this would be broken. You play a card, you get a body, your opponent loses a card. The only decks that wouldn't have cared about this are the purple decks that would be playing it, which are the like Detonate and Miracle Draven type decks. Now we're adding Pike, who's going to be able to bounce this and keep playing it to try and keep discarding, but it's very negative tempo. It's 3 energy plus 1 for Pike bouncing it, and then you play it again, so 7 energy to actually, you know, do that twice. But if a deck does not have that much draw, or you combine it with these other hand rip effects to hand rip their draw, and then play this a few times, you can start to really shred people's hands. And I'm curious, how are we feeling about Bewitching Spirit? I personally like it, but that is like, if you're an Obelisk enjoyer or if you're going second or something, this can feel pretty good in our meta right now, where 2 drops are less good. A 3-drop that like has an on-play effect seems a little bit more interesting.
All right, this might be a hot take for me, but I actually think this card might be actively bad until something addresses the Miracle package. Because if that is going to be a big chunk of your meta, even if it's like, you know, 30% total, 1 in 3 decks, when you play this, it could benefit them, whether that's filling their bin faster for their Rasas, whether that's activating an early scrap heap for them. The fact that this is not the choose, so like the, you know, the hook or spear, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, right? The Pike spell, good, you get to choose. Ashe, good, you get to choose. Sabotage, you get to choose. Something like this, like, yes, I get that you can play it over and over and over again, but right now a lot of those decks kind of want you to do that anyway, or even if you get through those cards, you get through the scrap heaps, you get through all the other stuff, they're going to have so many cards anyway that this is going to kind of tickle. I could actually see a situation where if people do run this, at least if the meta doesn't change much, they'll use it as much on themselves for their own scrap heaps, right? It could be your backup Ezreal in case you haven't found one if you're not playing Ezreal as your chosen champion, right? So I think that because they get to choose, I would not put like heavy stock in this card.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that, you know, being able it really is a meta dependent card, right? And it depends on card draw. If there's not a lot of card draw in the meta, like if you are the miracle deck against a lot of the decks that you're playing against right now, this deck is good. This card is good for you because if you're playing into Aurelia, she does draw a lot, but if you can play this early on in the game and just like start ripping the hand and deal with the Stellacorn, she's gonna run out of cards, right? If you play into a lot of these other, like, you know, a lot of other decks you can kind of deal with something like Bewitching Spirit. But yeah, into other purple right now doesn't really do much.
I do think that you need to, like, in a similar vein to Ashe, like, you need to also still be putting on pressure, or else, like, and you brought up a really good point earlier, Charmer, where like in Magic, discard spells and other spells like that feel better because some, like, what is it, 30 to 40% of the time, the top of your deck is a blank because it's a land that you don't need right now, right? So if you make your opponent discard their whole hand, a third of their draws are going to be like, I draw a card, I look at a land, and I pass the turn. You've just completely skipped their turn. Whereas in Riftbound, it's like, yeah, top of your deck is just always live, and you don't even need to hit land. Like, making them discard their hand early and making them discard lands also doesn't exist in this game. So you can't, like, either mana screw or mana screw or mana flood people in Riftbound doesn't exist. So you can always just like, your top deck game is way stronger in a game where every single card in your deck is a card that you can play. Like, I'm imagining getting my hand ripped as Lucian, and it's like, yeah, if you've just spent your first 3 turns playing this 3 energy 2 might unit and bouncing it back over and over, I don't care. I'm just gonna play all the cards in my hand and attack you.
Yeah.
Like, I've got 4 things in play. You have a exhausted 2 might unit, and you say pass and go, okay, I just win the game. I don't care. I don't need cards anymore.
Yeah. So up next is maybe the better version of that, which is the Insightful Investigator for 3 energy, 3 might. So you're getting the on rate might instead of below rate might.
Yep.
It says when you play, this is also in Chaos. It says when you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand. So immediately you get to see your opponent's hand. All the information there as just part of a on rate 3 cost unit. You may pay 2 XP to choose a card from their hand. If you do, they discard that and draw 1. Now, they're not going down cards. However, you are going to get rid of the piece that scares you most and then give them a mystery card, while also, you know, always getting the information whether or not you pay the XP. I think this is a better card than the one that just is like a classic, they discard whatever one they want. And I think, once again, your hand is not safe. Your opponent is going to know what you have, so they'll know your combat tricks. And this is getting closer towards maybe my entire point of this entire, like, this presentation that I have here on the hand rips. What is your opponent going to do when they cast this card? They're going to take your hand. They're going to lay it out. They're going to write down the name of every single card in your hand. They're going to know all of that. But how much time is going to be spent looking at people's hands? And I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be quite a bit with note taking being allowed in this game. Now, I still think, you know, power level wise, this might be really, really insane because I think information is really broken, but I don't know how insane. I don't think it's like overstated or any issues like that there.
I certainly like this more than the other one. I know that you don't technically cause attrition from the hand, but what you do is you reduce quality, right? You reduce the selection. So, and again, it's you get to see the hand regardless. So if you're fine with everything that's there, you could also just not pay the XP. I think the big thing that sells me on this card more than anything is that it doesn't cost power. It is just
Yes.
3 energy for 3 might, which is very on right for, I think, a very quality ability. This is the sort of card I would expect to be played in something like Kha'Zix, because I think Kha'Zix is going to be very XP plentiful, and we'll talk a bit more about why later. But yeah, I think that this is at a minimum, it's just 3 energy for 3 might with upside.
Yeah, we so for the magic heads here, we got Ravenous Rats in the last card, and we've now got a like kind of Vendilion Click. Notable differences: Vendilion Click was, when it was in standard, was a really, really good card, and actually was quite playable in early modern, when modern first came around. Vendilion Click had what would be, I guess, the equivalent of ambush, or it had reaction basically. And also you didn't have to pay an additional resource. It was just always when you play it. And it also had evasion. So there was a lot of things going for Vendilion Click that this card does not have. But again, I go back to the like, when are you playing this? Are we playing a deck? And Kha'Zix does, I think, feel like the perfect deck for it. Obviously because Kha'Zix is generating XP, but also because Kha'Zix may be on the more like tempo aggressive, like I'm playing units, I'm being unit focused, and I'm also doing things to your hand. I'm ripping your hand, I'm playing spells, and I'm playing units. Whereas like, again, this off the top, just playing it and maybe like cycling a card from their hand, who cares? But if you have a good board presence and you're like, okay, is the coast clear? All of a sudden now you've got that line set up with a card like this, just like you would with, Sabotage or any of these other cards. Like I think I like this one. It's a bit more niche, obviously, because it requires XP. So some decks are just not going to be able to play it or not going to want to play it. But I do like it in. Well, I like the rewards for XP, and this feels like a not broken one, but still a quite decent one.
Oh, my thought is you could play this even if you can't generate XP in your deck. I actually think that playing an early game unit that is just going to tell you what your opponent's hand is to play around for the next few turns is actually even reasonable enough. Now, the hope is there's strong enough cards that you would only play this if there's an XP deck.
Would you play that card right now? Just 3 energy.
I would play it in my side.
Look at your opponent's hand.
Yeah, I'd play it in my side.
Really?
Yeah. I think Kubi and I have talked a lot about like Sabotage, where it's just like the card is so really good in some spots where it's just so like good. Yeah, not even taking the card, but knowing what's in the hand.
Absolutely.
No, basically just make all the difference. And I think I'm not gonna like main deck 3 of these or something like that, right? But like I could see myself putting it in the side.
But it has the stats to be able to if you wanted to, though.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Like if the curve was right for playing the 3 drops instead, then maybe I would. And I think in an XP deck that might be
ability as well.
That might be the case, right? It might be the case where you want this, especially if holding is becoming something that people want to do more and more. This becomes even better, because when someone is holding and it's like maybe late in the game and they have like 6 runes up, playing an Investigator as your first 3 runes of the turn, and then seeing their whole hand and what they can actually do to stop you from conquering, is so immensely powerful. That is like such a good first thing to do. It is like it is a large step, but it is but under Bryn here, but it is like in the same vein of like casting a Bryn here.
Turned it into a math problem. We talk about that all the time.
Exactly. Right. You're turning it into a math problem where it's like, okay, you can't beat me if I take this line because I know what you have. Right. So yeah, that's Insightful Investigator. I think it's quite strong. The last one is now green, also getting the ability to look at somebody's hand. This is something they did not have access to before. Scuttle Crab, everybody's favorite little river scuttler. 2 energy, 0 might. Reads units with 0 might can conquer and hold, which I think was known, but it's good to have the reminder text in case anybody was very confused.
I'm very glad, as a person who plays at an LGS all the time and plays with new players, that is on there. I'm very appreciative of that line of text.
It makes sense. And it says, when you play me, draw 1. 2 drop that replaces itself instantly.
Already like the card. Don't care about anything else.
Very, very good. Death Knell, choose an opponent. They reveal their hand. You can look at their face down cards this turn. Gain 1 XP, which is awesome for something like Master Yi, Wuju Master, who is trying to farm up to 11 EXP throughout the game to start the game with just like a 2-drop that is going to give you 1 guaranteed. It's going to replace itself, and you can still use it to conquer, and you then know your opponent's whole hand. I actually think this 2-drop will be a staple in some amount of green decks, even with the Zero Mind. It is a very powerful card, and once again, yes, reveal the hand is that really powerful effect. Your hand is not safe even against green. And in fact, maybe even less safe against green, because I think Scuttle Crab will make a lot of lists.
I don't know how to evaluate this card. I'll just be fully honest. There's the part of me that looks at this and I go, okay, it draws a card, so it's got to be good, right? Oh, it lets me see their hand. It's got to be good. And it gives XP. Decks that care about XP clearly want it. But then I look at it and I go, okay, but I'm also likely giving away a combat at some point to trigger this death knell, unless maybe you're playing green-yellow, right? If you're a Leona Truther and you want to do this and then hidden blade your own unit or whatever, then that makes sense. But I don't know. Yes, like it can conquer and hold. So basically like it can conquer an open battlefield, and that's great. But I think with the increase in ambush units that we're going to see in this next set, I think that's going to be riskier than it has been in the past. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it should be good, but I'm not 100% sold yet.
I'm pretty close to 100% sold, because I'm like, we're seeing like 2 energy, 2 might unit with even like a decent effect not really want to be played right now. Like the Poros, in large part, at least compared to Origins, have fallen out of favor. And to me, and we've seen, I was trying to look up the name of the card because I can't remember it. The green 2-drop from Origins, where you can pay or you can pay a power
to draw.
a card.
Clockwork Keeper, yeah.
Clockwork Keeper, exactly. To me, this card is just 1,000 times better than that. And like,
Yeah,
yes,
just draws.
Clockwork, yeah, just draws the card, which is the part you want, with no power, which is amazing. And like, I think, yes, Clockwork Keeper can provide, obviously, 2 additional might. But I think that the number of times that Clockwork Keeper is going to conquer a battlefield versus the number of times Scuttle Crab is going to conquer a battlefield is not that different. Like, I think they're going to conquer the same empty battlefield in the same way. And if you kill the Scuttle Crab, who cares? You just get your
I get to
your
see
death
their
knell
hand.
ability.
Like
You get to see their hand now and get an XP. Whereas like Clockwork Keeper, I just never liked this card ever.
yeah,
Even
if
though
you
it
play
says
it on
draw a
2,
card
you
on it.
don't get a draw. If you play it late game, you maybe still don't get a draw.
Yeah, like
Scuttle
paying a
always
power
draws.
is. I have gone from like, don't know how to evaluate it, I'm going to pretend power doesn't exist and just spend it all, to I am like I'm like Ebenezer Scrooge with power. It's like Bob Cratchit gets no power on Christmas. Like, I'm not paying any power costs if I can avoid it. Like, that's why Lucian's my boy. Like, never have to pay power for him. And like, yeah, when I can get these effects without paying power, when I can like do, like, I think without having played the game, you would look at Scuttle Crab and be like, oh, it's 0 might, like it's never gonna do anything. The 2 might unit will conquer sometimes. Like, yeah, I don't think so. I think that they conquer roughly the same number of times. And like, you've got combat tricks in green. You're playing green.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it's going to conquer roughly the same number of times. I just, again, worry about giving away combats, not just because of Draven, but also because of legends like Kha'Zix, who also say, when I win a combat, do a thing. So that's my only reservation. But
we shall see. But in conclusion, there's a lot of hand rip being added. I worry maybe for time being added to rounds due to hand rip because of people writing things down. I hope that's not a big issue. It shouldn't be, but it is possible, right? If there is just a critical mass of people hand ripping and writing stuff down throughout the entire game, depending on if we have a slow meta as well. I also think, I guess this must be the direction that is wanted to be gone in, where maybe it is due to the amount of card draw that's been added into the game in Unleashed that they feel comfortable printing a lot of hand rip, but also just that knowledge so much knowledge about opponents' hands being added all at once. We had 2 different ways total in Origins, none added in Spirit Forged, if I remember correctly, about actually looking into hands, and now 5 pieces added in Unleashed. Just keeping an eye out for the effects that can rip your hand or see into your hand going forward.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit about the time. However, it's not just additive every time, right? Like if you reveal your hand the first time, you get, 6 cards, you take 1 or whatever. If they've drawn 2 cards from there, they reveal their hand again. It's like you're only adding 2 cards to that list or whatever. So it's not that horrible. We see in Magic, like there are plenty of effects that do that. You may be thought seized 4 times in a game, plus there might be another card. Like thought seize and Vendilion Click were played in the same deck sometimes. Actually, they were both in standard at the same time, now that I remember. So like it's not unreasonable to have a bunch of hand reveal effects. So I think there's a bigger issue that we won't get into in this episode, but that is like players in general need to play faster, I think.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point where I think the expectation is certainly going to be there. Like everyone has kind of gotten a pass now. It's like, game's new. We're all new at it and we're all learning. And there's like some, like, I don't know, just getting used to doing it. But now I think we're getting to the point where it's like, yeah, we need to pick up the pace.
Sorry. If I'm looking at your hand, I'm going to take my sweet time to write the full government name of every one of your 11 cards. Teach you to have 11 cards in hand. No, I'm just kidding.
God.
I would never do that.
Thomas P. Scuttle Crab the Third. Anyway. Yeah, well, we have even more spoilers. Not all of them are hand rip. Cass, you've got some filthy LeBlanc cards, and I mean that in the best way.
Yeah, imagine it being an episode for Unleashed and me not presenting LeBlanc cards. It's the Sheen, you've presented LeBlanc for the 100th time for show and tell. But yeah, we'll be showing LeBlanc Fragmented. This is 3 energy, 3 might, and 1 power. This is the Order LeBlanc potential chosen champion that you can run. She has Assault, so she's a 3 for 4 on offense. And then she has Death Knell, draw 1. If it's your beginning phase, draw 2 instead. So if she dies to temporary after being copied, it's draw 2. And I think the big thing for me was, wow, there's finally some actually good options for card draw in yellow. And people will be like, but Hidden Blade has been there the whole... yeah, fuck Hidden Blade. I don't want to play Hidden Blade as my draw card. That my only option to draw cards in this deck, and there's so many new ones. Sacrifice I didn't even show on here. That's the 1 cost that you can kill a mighty unit of your own to draw 2 and channel a rune. I think that's also really potent. That's been added. But yeah, Shadow's Call is going to be the other card presenting on this slide. That's 2 energy. Choose a friendly unit without temporary. Give it temporary and draw 2. So if you were to put this on a LeBlanc in any deck that is not LeBlanc who's making copies to then create all the draw, you can still draw 2 for Shadow's Call, and then if Fragmented survives to your beginning phase, draw an additional 2 for Fragmented, which is quite good. A lot of ways to draw, which goes back to the earlier topic of, hey, there's a lot more ways to draw cards nowadays, so maybe that's why we've got a little bit more of the hand rip. But I think Fragmented's going to be maybe just like a 3 of in LeBlanc decks, and then blue LeBlanc is still the champ zone one. Because it just like felt like, a 4 cost, no power, chosen champion is going to be incredible, and it turns off temporary, which can be really nice. And then on the other side, you want maybe like a lot of these, even though she has a power cost. I think with the amount of draw we're seeing, you can play yellow seals, and then just like look for either. This is a very efficient unit, or a decently efficient unit, essentially 3 for 3 might, 3 for 4 might offensively. That will replace itself. And that is pretty worthwhile, I think, for these kind of decks. And sometimes it's going to do more than replace itself. It's going to draw 2 instead. Pretty good stuff.
And sometimes it's going to do more than replace itself because you can use the legend ability to copy it. And so the copy, yes, you discard a card, but then if the temporary thing sticks around, then the card you discarded turns into 2 cards. And even if it doesn't, then again, you'll still draw 1 from the copy, which means that the card you discarded gets replaced. So I think this card is like the engine for LeBlanc. I saw this and I literally, I put in our Discord, am I just a LeBlanc main now? Because
Look,
this
I am.
feels
I have been.
busted.
Always have been. And well, just one thing to note, like the reflection enters ready. So it's not like it has to live on the battlefield after you've sent this in and conquered, and then you make the copy and it's like, oh, I hope she survives and holds so that I get to draw 2 instead. No, you just run her home if you want to give up the battlefield. And then the one on the battlefield dies because your opponent kills it and then conquers and you draw 1. And then the one at home dies and you draw 2. And it's like, all right, great. Like, what? That seems fine to me. I refresh the hand and we get to kind of go again. So there's always an option that you'll have with Fragmented, which is why, I mean, I agree with you, Charmer. It'll be a staple of the deck. Like, I think it's very likely 2 or 3 of in most lists. 1 power cost means that maybe it doesn't always get to be a 3 of, but I think it's likely to be kind of bread and butter for the list.
Yeah. My Ebenezer Scrooge does make me look at that power cost with a little bit of hesitation, but cards busted, which is cool. I actually picked a couple of cards here. I picked a random smattering of cards, as would be my choice here. I started with actually an uncommon here. It's called Forgotten Signpost. It is a 2 energy gear, no power cost, and it has action: exhaust a unit you control and exhaust this gear. Move a different unit you control to the location of the unit you exhausted to pay for this ability. So you get to swap 2 units at action speed, and you've just got that in play, ready to threat of activation. Like, I think this is one of the first action speed abilities we've seen on a permanent. Obviously the seals have reaction speed, but there's not a ton of different action speed abilities on gear that I can think of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you saying like just gear or units too? Because it's
gear, mostly. I mean,
we had Green Azure with the swap, and this is a reinforcement. Just for clarity, because you said it's like swapping 2, but this is reinforcing a unit. Because it says exhaust a unit control, move a different unit you control to the location of the unit you exhausted.
Oh, okay, right.
So it can bring someone to safety. It can bring a unit.
It can move a unit
into
away,
it. So like if you're holding a battlefield and then you conquer another battlefield on the same turn, and like that one's exhausted and one is readied, then they attack into the readied one. You can always like exhaust it and move the other one, or vice versa, right? Like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Yeah. Okay. And when I first read this, I was thinking it swapped them, but this is still like, this might even be better than that, honestly. I mean, really, I brought it up because it's like, this is a card that we've not seen a lot of, at the very least, of like, here's a thing in play. It has an ability at action speed, and like the threat of activation you have to play around at all times, which we see in like, we've actually seen them move away from this in Magic. A lot of times they like put the ability as can only be used as a sorcery, which basically means at slow speed. So I like just the ability to play this at action speed, and like, hey, there's an onboard trick here. Like if you attack into this, like I now have to think, do you see this? Or I know that you know that I know that you know that, like that whole thing is interesting to me.
I just want to use this card to put a Kog'Maw in my base, and then every time that I take something, just like leave a unit out there to hold and say, all right, do you want to go? Am I going to swap with the Kog'Maw? Like, I just want to do funny stuff like that. I think this card is going to be a riot in multiplayer and 2v2 scenarios as well. 2v2 especially.
Yeah. I think the big thing to look at is this mostly being used to save things. If you keep like a backline unit that's just generating value in some way, then when you go in and conquer, you always have Forgotten Signpost to escape, right? Because it's moving to where the unit exhausted is a very notable. It's very specific wording, right? Like it is not like you get to move wherever. It is like wherever the unit you exhausted is where you can then move another unit to. It is very particular in its movement. However, in that
to build your own motion.
Yeah, it's very good to like just keep something at base that wants to stay at base anyway, and then it can protect any units that are going out and adventuring into the unknown.
Yes. The other card I picked here is Red Brambleback. This is the red buff 4 energy, 1 Angie power. I know, power cost. It also has accelerate and says your conquer effects for conquering here trigger an additional time, and when I conquer, buff a friendly unit. Don't care about that second part. This is just another way that Lucian can get even more points with the combo. You can now get 3 points per battlefield a turn with the red buff. If you have the combo in play, you can play this with accelerate, equip out of nowhere, and then with a relentless pursuit, you can win now from 4 with a or no, you can win from 2 rather. You can win from 2 with the red brambleback. Is this actually good in Lucian? Maybe, honestly, like
I would play like
things,
1. Yeah.
I think you probably want to play 1. I don't know, because like you can't really cut Kaisa, I don't think, but anyway, it's an interesting card in Lucian. I was actually talking about this in one of the discords I'm in, and I obviously brought up the combo, but other players were pointing out that like this gives you double, like if you're playing Candlelit Sanctum, you get 2 of that effect. You can get 2 Zon Warrens, you can get 2 Temple triggers, like all of those conquer, like when you conquer this battlefield triggers double twice, and that's actually really good for Lucian. So if you have like these draw on conquer triggers, that's actually quite good with Lucian, not being the greedy miser that I am, wanting to get more points with my combo.
No,
That's
but the incidental, I could win from 0 with this, is pretty good. If you have 2 Trinity forces and the combo, then you just win from 0, right?
Just win from 0. Yeah, so just go all in on it. I'm here for
good.
it. I like the card. Yeah. It's cool. Interesting.
I just want to use it to like turbo stack buffs onto the Lee Sin that can have as many buffs as you want.
When we get red, green,
that was all I saw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I had some cards that I wanted to talk about because I like moving stuff around, and we got some great options in both like purple and green for moving stuff around that was just revealed as of today as we record this. One of which is Evelyn, which jumped out to me because this is potentially a champion unit for a future legend. This is just 2 energy for 2 might, has no power, but it does have hidden, so you can hide it. Also has the backline trait, so again, it has to be assigned combat damage last. And it says when you play me from face down on your turn, you may move an enemy unit at a different location to my battlefield. So this could either be a +2 might if you are revealing it on your opponent's turn and they're attacking into you, and you want that extra might to continue to win that combat. Or if it makes it all the way back, right? So that's the thing. It has to be played on your turn, and you can't play same turn when you hide. So you do essentially have to successfully hold to pull this off, but it becomes a charm. And it's a charm where you're also getting that +2 might out of it as well. So I think this card is a ton of fun. And again, I thought of Teemo immediately, but the reality is I think that there's so many things that you could do with this. The other one that I wanted to talk about was Blast Cone. This is a gear. It's 4 energy and 1 purple power. When you play this, you may move an enemy unit. So again, this could be a charm, could be a fight or flight, could be whatever. Granted, it's at slow speed. But when you move an enemy unit, you may exhaust this to stun it. So you get the when played, but then any other cards in the future that move things, you can also exhaust Blast Cone to stun it. So this is great if you are looking to play Vex next set and you want to charm things in for your hold strategies. This is great if you want to use the Evelyn. It's great if you want to use it just one time with the Blast Cone ability. There's so many things that I think this is useful for. Even if you were pushing away with something like a fight or flight, still stunning a unit so that it's essentially locked out of combat for the rest of the turn, because again, it's stunned for the entire turn. That's a big deal. So I'm a big fan of this card.
Man, people are gonna go crazy when I reveal Purple Draven as my chosen champion. Like this, I think this might be happening. I might have to do this. I'm really liking this purple hold package, whether it's good or not. Maybe it just has to be Vex, but I kind of want to play purple Draven with it. But we got through quite a few spoilers, but there's always so many more. We're all patiently awaiting for, I'm sure Cass will do some extremely long, drawn out
It's coming.
spoiler video. Okay.
Yeah, we will. We're gonna do the long one again. We're gonna do.
Love it.
I think I like that a little better.
Yeah, there's no way. Some people are doing these like 5-hour videos. Lol immediately does a 5-hour video. Love it. But before before we get going here, we're going to quickly jump into our favorite segment of the show. That is going to be El Mailbag Areno. We have got a mailbag question here from I can't read. Piano classes to go. There we go. Piano classes to go. 6,600. Remember, you only need to be one lesson ahead of the students. Which ones do you think are going to be the next control decks of this next set? Or is Victor Ez and Kaisa still going to reign? So basically, what decks do you think are going to be the control decks of the next set, or are we just going to see Victor, Ez, and Kaisa remain the top dogs?
I mean, I think it's like from what we're seeing printed, like Vex, it would be considered maybe some kind of control deck in a different way than we've seen from like Victor, Ezreal, and Kaisa, where they're just like they're focused on board wiping and actually like keeping the board clear, whereas like Vex is going to maybe do the same thing, but by controlling a battlefield, so quite literally controlling something. But it does feel like the cards that are being printed to support her are supposed to be in that direction.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I look at Vex and especially the stuff that's coming out in green and purple, and it looks like you're supposed to set up camp on one battlefield, never move, and then your removal is just pulling things in to fight one at a time, right? You want the superhero fight where they come in one at a time and then you take them all out individually as opposed to them all mobbing you at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, the entire mob just came and destroyed Captain America and he couldn't do anything. Actually, no, he can do stuff as well. I guess Marvel kind of circumvents that. But yeah, no, I think the other one to me is Diana, though a lot of people are just reading that as Ezreal, but maybe better. Better,
debatably better.
Yeah, debatably better. So I don't know if that counts in the spirit of the answer or of the question. Also, like, to me, we didn't talk about the card here, but Ruination is basically, well, it literally is just destroy all units. So a card like Lux or a deck like Lux might actually be able to survive. I mean, even the like unitless Victor decks, I think, have a better chance now where you don't have to just 1-for-1. If you can survive and get to a Ruination, you can actually catch back up. So we shall see. Great question there. If you want your question on the show, at least potentially, leave a comment here on the YouTube video, and we will certainly be trying to get to it. But it's always tough in spoiler season because we have so much to talk about. But that is going to be our time here for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, check out shop.turnupsideways.gg or just turnupsideways.gg to check out all the awesome content that Cass has been putting together with some amazing partners there as well. But that is going to be it for this episode of The Winning Point. For Casanova, for Charmer, for the whole crew at Turn Sideways, I've been Blevins. We'll see you